Historically, we've often brought students into computing by first requiring them to take a number of math courses, then they take a number of programming courses, often theoretical programming, and then ultimately anyone who's left gets to apply computing to the sciences.
The Undergraduate Petascale Institute is changing that. As part of the Blue Waters Project, a collaboration between NCSA and the Shodor Education Foundation is training a new generation of computational scientists. Computational scientists who, from the beginning of their education and careers, will integrate computer simulations into their research and understand how those simulations can drive discovery.
The mind is very powerful, but it's only so powerful, and it's very creative, but it doesn't have a lot of computing power. So I kind of look at computational science as sort of an add-on to the human brain, just giving it more power. I think the computational scientist is a translator between the real science and the computer science.
Becoming a computational scientist means looking at the world in a different way.
The real world is concurrent. Everything happens at the same time.
All the stars interact at the same time. All the electrons in an atom interact at the same time. If we're going to get better science off these machines, especially a machine like Blue Waters, which is going to have hundreds of thousands of processing cores, we're going to have to be able to map the parallelism in nature more closely to what the machine is capable of computing.
This summer, more than 20 students spent 2 weeks at NCSA to learn about the architecture of the Blue Waters supercomputer and the programming languages they will need to use the computer. But these skills will be applied more broadly throughout the students' careers.
So it shows you the different methods that are currently available, and then it gives you enough of an idea of the way that this thought process works about how to keep a bunch of different cores busy and how to chug through your data as fast as you can. But if you have that general framework, you can even come up with newer, better ways to do this.
During the Institute, students learn from experts in the field and from each other.
We have a term called shoulder surfers. Whenever we have a lab project or anything in the class that they're trying to teach us, they come behind us, and if we need help, they tap us on the shoulder. And they will sit there. I know plenty of times where I've had Jeff sit with me, and we actually went through a project or a lab project with each other, and we completed it.
They have mentors, and they have people coming around helping us, but a lot of problems I get solved just by asking the guy next to me, and we figure out together. And that's been a great approach just to learning. I feel lucky to be a part of this just because it's done by the Shodor group, and I've met some of these guys before, like Charlie and Bob, and I just think they're some of the best teachers like I've ever met.
The program doesn't stop this summer. Each student has been paired to work with a faculty mentor at their home institution for the coming year.
What's really important is that students have a chance not only to learn this as a content, but in the context of working on a real project with the professor as part of their research group. They're really becoming an apprentice researcher to a scientist who is passionate and dynamically involved in the conduct of that research.
The students will be working in fields like chemistry, geoscience, biology, and astrophysics.
There are definitely some very specific things that I can take back from this workshop to apply to my project. We've been using a program called SitcomS that does mantle convection modeling in Earth's core, and the idea for this project would be for me to use graphics processors to speed up the computations so that we can model finer grain detail in the problems that we're looking at.
Experience, perspective, and skill. Important characteristics for any researcher, and the Petascale Institute students are getting it as undergraduates.
By changing the presentation, by changing the understanding, by changing how one thinks about the problem, by changing the representation, one could come across different ways of mapping that problem onto a variety of computational designs. The only way we're going to be able to do that is to get the students into a mode where it's not simply coming up with an answer, but it's coming up with a way of thinking about how they came up with that answer. And being able to look at it more than one way, they'll be able to check their own work, they'll be able to have a better sense of not just solving the problem right, but solving the right problem. A year, 2 years, 3 years from now when they're in graduate school, they're really going to be at the forefront of this research.
The University of Illinois' National Center for Supercomputing Applications provides powerful computers and expert support that help thousands of scientists and engineers across the country better understand our world. With the computing power available at NCSA, researchers create computer simulations with real-world social and business impact. NCSA is supported by the State of Illinois, the University of Illinois, the National Science Foundation, and other federal agencies.